all-round visibility from the Boxster's driving seat is pretty good, and things improve further of course when the roof goes down. Though we do still have to contend with the OEM wind deflector. It's a little bit clunky, and the 981's younger sibling, the 718, could show us a trick or two by lending us its rear view mirror. And if your windscreen's grubby, well, it might be precautionary, but now could be the time to replace this. What is this, and how can we improve visibility by tweaking those? Let's find out. Welcome to Project 981 and welcome back to the channel. Now this is a video about visibility from the front, from the rear, over our shoulders, and of course putting the roof down improves the over shoulder visibility a huge amount. But the view from the mirror backwards is still a little bit compromised. The OEM rear view mirror frame is quite thick on the 981, and the wind deflector itself, it does a pretty good job, has this thick border too. Now regular viewers will know I've already bought an aftermarket wind deflector. I'm really keen to see how that works in combination with the improved, which is to say significantly less frame bound rear view mirror from the 718, the 991 I should say. So that in combination with the aftermarket I think will do wonders for the rear view. But we're going to make a start up front. This is the hose that runs from the screen wash reservoir up to the jet nozzles under the bonnet. It has a reputation for breaking, just age and plastic degradation and movement, cracking the hose and it weeps and you lose your screen wash. So I'm going to replace that too. It's precautionary. I'm also going to give my jet nozzles a little bit of a D-scale. We live in a hard water area and the spray pattern is definitely on the way out, so I'm going to clean those up. I'm then going to give the windscreen itself a quick polish and seal it with some glass sealant, and I've treated myself to some new wipers. So at the end of the video, hopefully much better visibility out from the front and improved visibility looking backwards. Plenty to do. Let's start under the bonnet. So familiar territory under the bonnet, the frunk of the 981 Cayman Boxster and the 991. My car is right-hand drive, so the bulk of the windscreen wiper assembly is on that side, and I've got the air intake for the cabin on this side. But I think the position of the water reservoir, the screen wash reservoir, is common on all the cars, regardless of whether it's left or right-hand drive, which is here. And the hose from that runs up at the back of the hinge here, little clip on there, pops out here, into the skin of the bonnet here, through a grommet, and then we've got two jet nozzles which are plumbed in. I think on some cars built in certain years for certain markets there are heated nozzles. They have a power supply which comes from the other side. My car doesn't have that, so I've just got to contend with the hose which runs from there. So it's a short assembly. The principal challenge is getting your hand down in here to disassemble the hose from the reservoir, and to start that we need to remove this piece of trim from the side here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'm going to see if I can get my hand in here and remove, or we should say unclip, the original hose. And then the clever little technique we're going to use is to use this, which is already in place, to pull the new one through. So first job, trim out. Then I'm going to remove the nozzles. We'll get those cleaned while I'm doing the hose, and then see if we can put it all back together again. Right, just a quick bit of trim intel here, so you can see how that's come out of the car. Doesn't really work with landscape, does it? Let's look at the back of that, so the reverse. So you've got just literally some press studs there. They just come out easy enough. The main business of the day in removing this is to pop the two press sprung studs there, and then rather than lifting straight out at the end, you have to slide the whole piece. Bear in mind there's a reciprocating part for that and that. Once you've popped the items down there, what you then have to do is effectively pull that out. So I'll give you some perspective. So pull that backwards to take it out. and we can see where that's come out. Down here, there's the little foot, the base of it. Now, with that done, conveniently, it's quite tight up in here, unexpectedly, but you can see that there is a junction on the hose where it emerges from the base of the bonnet, comes down through a little gap there, and that is a junction with a clip on it. So first job is to disconnect that clip, and of course what it will probably do is allow some of the screen wash to emerge. So cleverly, my plan on the new part is to use what effectively is a little bung that's already in there. So we'll unclip that, take the little toggle out the end and use that to temporarily block the hose from the main reservoir. So first things first, I think it's actually easier to take this clip off to get the hose out to then undo the joint. So I'm going to gently prise that off. Oh, there we go. Pretty straightforward really. You'd struggle to get that wrong, so don't be too afraid of getting involved. Right, that's come out. So that gives us a tiny bit of extra freedom of movement here. And then there's a little clip to push out on the base of the hose. So I'm going to get the little bung ready to put that in when I remove the hose. So it's fiddly, but it's also relatively straightforward. There's a little plastic clip that has to be slid back, which is mercifully easy to do. Out comes the hose, and actually, happily enough, I don't have any weeping from the reservoir, although I can see the fluid there. So I'm going to push it, it's just starting to go. So let's pop that in. Right, so that is now blocked, which has been surprisingly easy to do. So you can see where the run goes from there. There's a little bit of fluid in there, unsurprisingly, but the next job is just to pull that through and then ready the hose to be removed. So let's do that. So as you can see, that's pretty straightforward. There's not really much to be concerned ourselves with there. Next job is to get the jet nozzles out and get those cleaning while we pull the hose through. So the nozzles are pretty easy to remove. The one thing you must remember to do is to remove it from what is, from where I'm stood, the back of the nozzle rather than the face, which is at the front. So we have to go for the back, not from here. Get your fingers in. As I say, it doesn't need a tool. Just very gently pull up and away, and out it comes. And I'll show you a clip of what we can see at the back of that in a moment, but there's a little clip. These clips are really straightforward. You just push both sides simultaneously. They are captive by design. It comes out and out slides the nozzle, and it really is as simple as that. So I'll show you that in more detail with a still photograph. But with that there, we can now, actually I'm going to leave that one open because I'm going to connect the new one to that. So I'll now repeat on that side. Let's just do that. Out it comes. Slide the clip simultaneously on both sides. There we go. Now that one I want to, I'm not going to attach anything to that, so I'll just push the clip back like that and we're good. Right, let's go and get these cleaned. So a quick bit of orientation on these nozzles. So obviously that's the nozzle, so you can imagine you're in the driver's seat. Now when we open the bonnet, you'll see that there are two sides to the clip. On the left hand side is a fixed little foot, and on the right hand side is something with a bit more of a profile, angle profile. So that's the side I was getting this edge here is the one I was getting my fingers underneath effectively. So that sits in there, and I'm putting my fingers at the back like that. You can see that if you pull down on this edge, you will likely break that clip. So that clip goes up. To put them back in, this side and those two clips go up into the metal of the bonnet, and then you push the back upwards. Excuse this slightly dodgy camera angle. and those little sprung shoulders will support the thing. So that is pretty straightforward. If you've got a heated nozzle, there's a little electrical socket here, but mine are not heated, but they are otherwise in good order. So let's just give those a quick descale. Okay, so with the jet nozzles removed, we can use the existing hose run to pull through the new one. Now at this point, quick shout out to GT Machine, fellow YouTuber, for his video on this. I'm pretty much replicating what he did, so thank you. Using the open clip from where we removed the nozzle here, I'm going to put in the, I'm going to shut the clip and then push the end in there, so that takes that, and then it really is then a simple question of feeding that through from the other side. So with this all loose, it's just then a question of coercing it through. There we go. And there comes the first of the nozzle clips. Now the thickest part is the new grommet, but that should go through too. Here comes the end of the old one, so we've already done the full run. Let's get the grommet in there. There we go. Once it's started, it goes a little bit more easily. So push pull. So I'm going to take this end off just for convenience. That's now done. We can look at that in a minute. Okay, so the lesson here is just be patient with it. There we go. Right, now basically in the right place, and you can see already how straightforward that was. So we should somewhere now have a second nozzle clip there. We do, that's good, and the first should be somewhere around here, and there it is, just tucked up the back there. Now at this point I've got the opportunity just to sort of get it all de-twisted for sake of argument, which is about there. Okay, happy with that. So 10 minutes or so with a descaling solution, you can see that the nozzles are nice and clear, pretty much unencumbered by scale or calcium carbonate deposits. I should have done a before and after on this, but there you go. They basically look clear and clean and like new, so they should give us a nice full unrestricted spread of water when they are in position. And let's have a very quick look at that clip which holds the hose onto the bonnet strut. It's fairly straightforward. There's a little cutout for the hose itself, which you can see, and there's just a couple of little locators. I don't think there's a lot you can go wrong with on this, so just worth showing how these clips work. This is the old one, and you can see that it has a 90-degree corner on it, and there's a little black plastic shank, if you will, and the way that works is it just literally pulls forward on both sides to that position. It is sort of captive. If you caught that, it would definitely come off and you'd lose it, and you'd probably lose it somewhere you couldn't get it back, but it is captive if you're delicate with it. And then once you've removed, in this case, the bung out, in order to set the clip to receive the new hose, push those back in. So you have to push them back in before you reset, and then it'll go in. There's the bung again with a nice good solid clip, and that's job done. And these bungs don't have a particularly good fit, but they are showing how it works in principle. So that is how those clips work. Now, I'm a big fan of precautionary work, and this is the old hose, and actually it doesn't look to be in too bad condition, but this is the shoulder where it emerges from the base of the frunk, where that clip covers it, where it just flexes, constantly flexes as the bonnet goes up and down, and does fail eventually. And actually this is 10 years old too, so that's, you know, we've got a bit of plastic degradation. So the reason for replacing it is basically because that angle there, that shoulder will eventually give way, and it'll candidly piss fluid everywhere, which is what we want to avoid. So, but knowing that's been done and knowing my car's now got a brand new one is very pleasing. Okay, so the nozzles have cleaned up really well, and it's time to put them both back in again. Of course, just checking which way around they go. The nozzle is upside down effectively, and obviously needs to point towards the windscreen. And then we need to remember about the side that the locating clips are on versus the sprung clips. So nozzle facing away from me, jet back towards me. We can poke our finger up in here, find the hose with the clip back in place. It goes on with a nice solid clip. Check that's in place, and then all we need to do is locate the back two fixed pieces like that, and then just gently push the front in like that. Pretty straightforward. Right, let's do the other side. We've got the other one here, so that clip is ready to receive the washer, which is clean, washer facing towards the back of the car. Clip on, check it's bitten on both sides, locate the back, there we go, back in, and then the front in as well. And with that done and our hose in, let's just feed this back in again. Now we've taken any twist or rotation out of the hose, and then we can locate this. So this is an oval shape, so it's not round, which gives us a clue as to which way it goes. And it's pretty obvious once it's in, so just seat the shoulder. It's a grommet basically. There we go, and then that is pretty much ready to be reconnected. So I shall now put my glasses on. Oh, that's the clip, we'll come back to that. Glasses are in the other pocket. Right, it does help to see what you're doing. That's now nicely in place, pointing very definitely in the correct direction. Nice easy run here, no kinks. Down to the back here, out through the little cut through, which is there. I just need to now remove the plug from earlier. Out the plug comes, that's easy. Push the clip back in. Let's connect the male to the female. Now I think if you've got the air box on the other side, you're going to have an easier task of this, but just persevere. There we go, finally. Okay, so it helps to have smaller hands at this point. Right, that's definitely in, and the clip shoulders are definitely engaged. So the last thing to do is put the clip back on. The cutout for the hose is your guide to how far down it needs to go. There it is. And then it's probably just a question of pushing one side on. Actually, I can see the marks on the paint from where it was before. So that really is pretty straightforward. So little hint there. If your car has the marks where the clip was, that's where it is in the vertical. The hose comes out the side, that's gone back on perfectly. That's basically that job done. So we've cleaned the jet nozzles and replaced the hose. We haven't had too much spillage down there. I'll get the trim piece back on, and then we can start polishing the windscreen. One quick thing you could also do at this point is just pop your screen wash fluid lid. Now this little sieve is actually removable. It does come out, it says. There we go. And it's worth just checking how clean it is. I find they can get a little bit of algae growth, bit of mildew, but that looks pretty good. And mainly because I gave it a clean, but that comes out, and then you can just sit that back down in there, having checked it, and all is good. So keeping your windscreen clean is obviously important as drivers. We like to be able to see where we're going. I've always enjoyed the sort of clarity that comes from putting a glass sealant on the glass, which helps with beading and generally I find makes the wipers work more effectively. So I'm going to give the Boxster's windscreen a treatment, but the first thing to know in doing that is we want to put the sealant, the treatment, onto clean glass. So the theory here is you want to be using a polish to clean the glass and then put a sealant on top of it. Now I've used various things over the years, various products from G-Technic. This is an old bottle of G5, but actually I've used their G1, which works perfectly well. There's a Maguire's product, which is also pretty good. Perhaps doesn't last quite as long, tend to use that on the daily driver. And in terms of polish, I've generally deferred to Autoglim's car glass polish, which is basically doing a job of preparing the glass to receive one of these treatments. Now, somebody on the channel, a viewer, forgive me, I can't remember who, recommended, well, they've asked me if I've used this, I think it's Japanese brand, Glaco, and I haven't, and now I have, and it's good. So this comes in two forms. It comes with its own polish, so that is a compound, a very mild abrasive polish with a built-in pad to clean the glass, and then you put the sealant on in a similar way. So that's what I'm going to be using today. Basically, your mileage may vary, but we want to clean the glass and then treat the glass. So as you've seen, that's pretty straightforward. Compound polish on. So take two, and now as you've seen, that's pretty straightforward. Compound polish goes on and you work it into the glass. You can tell it's working because it has a slight, it is a liquid and it stops beading as it works, so you can tell it's cutting through the pre-existing sealant. Put that on, wipe it off, clean the glass, put the sealant on, let that cure depending on ambient temperature, 5, 10, 15 minutes, wipe that off, give it a buff, job's done. Now you probably can't tell any difference, but it's definitely looking nice and clean and will be ready for the new wipers. So I've just bought myself a pair of wipers. They're by Bosch. They're basically the replacement, I guess probably almost even OEM standard. Not much more to add to that, but those will be going on when the car's back on the road in a couple of weeks' time. So good job so far. Windscreen polished and cleaned and sealed, wipers to go in, jet nozzles cleaned, hose replaced. I think we're ready to turn our attentions now to the rear view mirror and the wind deflector. So let's start by talking about wind deflectors now. As I said a little earlier, regular viewers will know I've already swapped out the OEM part for an aftermarket one. Here it is, it's in position, it's fairly self-explanatory. It is perspex, not glass, it's got a slight tint to it, and it's basically frameless. It's the same shape and size, but it is effectively without that black border. You can immediately see the difference in terms of that rim around the edge, and I'm going to drop in some photos now to show you what it looks like with the original in place and then with the OEM one, and that is looking through the original mirror. So here is that mirror, and you'll be familiar with it if you're a 981 owner, possibly even a 991 owner. I don't know, I think it's a 981 piece. There it is, and it's a perfectly good mirror. I don't have the auto dimming, so I just have a toggle underneath. But now, shout out at this point, I should say, to Daz from Test Drive Scotland, fellow YouTuber. Great channel, go and look at some of his stuff. It was his video on this which made me think I could do it myself. This is the 991 non-auto dimming mirror. I actually bought it on eBay. I got lucky and found one. I'll put the part in the description, but roughly speaking, there it is. And it's definitely been used, but it's practically like new. And there it is. So that is what I'm going to now install. A second shout out to the excellent Jeff Richardson, because it's Jeff Richardson's channel. I'm now coming in to look at the mounting point, which has revealed so much about how the 981's put together. And it was Jeff who revealed how to take the shroud at the back of the mirror off, which is what I'm going to now do. So the plan is, rather than removing much of the trim up here, is just to remove that little plastic shroud at the back of the mirror. And if that is going to focus, that's where it mounts onto the effectively the glass. And then with that off, we should be able to remove the mirror, and the new one simply rotates 90-degree click on, click off into position, which you can kind of see from that mount there effectively. So I'm going to have a crack at that now, see what it produces. So if you're enjoying this video so far, you can help me by sharing it with somebody else who might find it useful. And if you want to see more from me in the Boxster, please consider subscribing to the channel. Okay, so I'm halfway through. There's various bits of trim. There is what is revealed. Excuse the exposure when it comes off. I'll put a still photo in here now to show you that. So basically, you need to take two pieces off. You need to take the pieces of trim, go around the mount point, and then these two pieces I've taken off in order to gain access to where the anchor is mounted. And the anchor is mounted, this is a nightmare shooting upwards. Yeah, there we go. The anchor is mounted into there and then feeds through to there. We've also got the earth, which interesting, when I took mine off, was not attached. So the earth is attached to, here's the new mirror. The earth is attached to that, and then you feed the anchor up through the channel, the two through there, around there, and just I've just prized back that bit of trim, hook it over that, and then that secures back into there. So that is what I shall do next, and then I shall reintroduce the two bits of trim there, and then once it's in place I shall then put the back on the shroud there. Okay, without giving the game away, I think we're doing quite well. That's now back in. I've connected the anchor and the earth. I now need to put the trim back on. I'm not going to spoil it just yet, but yeah, that's looking sensible. Okay, excuse me with these slightly odd angles, but we're there, we've done it. Right, so what can I show you from here? So basically, in order to get the anchor, the little bit of string out, I had to pop off that piece there and the equivalent on the other side, and as well as those pieces. If you weren't bothered by the anchor, you could just remove those, the two make up that set, and that's fine. But as you can see, that has gone in pretty much without any problem at all, and I shall now do some shots to see if we can understand the difference. Okay, so the hood is back up. Let's have a little look, try and do a sort of driver's eye perspective, more or less, sort of get it where my head might be. And I don't know, is that working? Can you get an effect of that? Does it work? Anyway, look, I think this is really good. I'm really chuffed with it. It's just a little bit less obvious. The hood is back up. And actually, if I zoom into there, that's quite representative of what I'm seeing. You can see, we can still see the edges of the headrests, and obviously my neighbours at the back view, and with the clear wind deflector too, suddenly it's all a little bit more improved. And actually what you're catching then is the back of the roof in there too. Various reflections going on because of the way the camera's picking up the mirror and the double mirror and the things. But yeah, happy, very happy with that. Good job. So visibility definitely improved. I'm really pleased with the way the new mirror's gone in. It's definitely complementing my wind deflector. We've done the jet nozzles, we've replaced the hose, we've polished the glass, we've got some new wipers to put on when the car gets back on the road. Really pleased with all the way that's gone. Worth saying again here, a big shout out to Test Drive Scotland, to Daz for the idea to change the review mirror, and also to the excellent Jeff Richardson and all the videos he's done on taking apart the 981, which has given me the confidence to get in behind the plastic here to safely pop those pieces out to access the various fastenings needed to remove the mirror. So thank you to those two YouTubers, really appreciated. Hope you've enjoyed this one. Plenty more to come. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you for the next one.